Good evening, and welcome back to WNBA Trending. I'm your host, Ava, and tonight we focus on a story that has sent shockwaves through the league, and one that has dramatically changed the trajectory of the Indiana Fever season. Sometimes, painful decisions pave the way for unexpected breakthroughs. And in the case of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, that painful decision may have been exactly the spark this young team needed. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA earlier this year, she carried with her a tidal wave of expectations. Already a household name due to her record-shattering college career at Iowa, Clark was seen not just as the future of the Indiana Fever, but as the future of women's basketball itself. Ticket sales skyrocketed, jersey demand went through the roof, and every arena she stepped into suddenly found itself sold out. But while the buzz was undeniable, the on-court results didn't immediately live up to the hype. The Fever struggled with consistency, dropping close games, and at times looking more like a team still finding its footing rather than one led by a generational star. Behind the scenes, tensions built. Clark, used to having the ball in her hands every possession at Iowa, was now asked to adjust to a league filled with elite veterans. Defenses were sharper, schemes were tougher, and the physicality of the WNBA left her taking more hits than she ever had before. As the losses piled up, critics began to question whether Clark's transition would be smooth at all. Then came the painful decision. Clark, battling fatigue and managing nagging injuries, sat down with Fever coaches and management to accept a temporary reduction in her role. She would still be the face of the franchise, still the go-to player in clutch moments, but the game plan was shifting. For the first time in years, Clark was asked to share offensive responsibilities, deferring more to her teammates like Aliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Nalissa Smith. For a competitor of Clark's caliber, this was not easy. Sources close to the team say she initially resisted, pushing to stay on the floor for her usual minutes and wanting to maintain her primary playmaking duties. But after a string of tough losses, the Fever's coaching staff made it clear that spreading the floor and diversifying the attack was in the best interest of the team. It was a painful moment of humility for Clark, who had always been the centerpiece, but it turned out to be exactly what Indiana needed. Almost immediately, the Fever's play began to shift. With Boston more involved in the paint, Mitchell finding her rhythm from the perimeter, and Smith attacking mismatches, defenses could no longer simply collapse on Clark. Instead of forcing plays, Clark became a facilitator, orchestrating the offense and picking her spots more selectively. The results? The Fever began winning. This wasn't just about numbers on a stat sheet. It was about identity. Indiana, long mired in rebuilding seasons and sitting at the bottom of standings, suddenly looked like a team with swagger. Opponents began to comment on how balanced they were, how difficult it was to guard them. Clark, in turn, began to silence critics who accused her of being one-dimensional. By accepting this painful decision, she showcased her basketball IQ and maturity beyond her years. Fans noticed too. While some were initially disappointed not to see Clark take 25 shots a game, they quickly realized that her willingness to adapt was helping the Fever climb the standings. The atmosphere in Gainbridge Fieldhouse shifted. Instead of nervous energy every time Clark was double-teamed, fans cheered as Boston dominated inside, Mitchell drilled threes, and Clark hit teammates with no-look assists. Analysts across sports media have been quick to point out how rare it is for a rookie to sacrifice in this way. For many young stars, there is a temptation to prove themselves immediately, to establish dominance at all costs. Clark's willingness to make a painful choice not only strengthened her team but also earned her the respect of veterans across the league. Former players turned commentators praised her adaptability, noting that the greatest players in WNBA history, from Diana Taurasi to Sue Bird, were all masters at knowing when to step back and when to take over. The ripple effects go beyond just basketball. Clark's decision has become a lesson in leadership for young athletes everywhere. In a culture that often glorifies individual stardom, she demonstrated that sometimes the hardest thing to do is to put ego aside. That message resonates in locker rooms, classrooms, and communities. Of course, the story doesn't end here. As the Fever continue to fight for playoff position, the question becomes, how will Clark's role evolve from here? With her injuries improving and her conditioning adjusting to the WNBA grind, she is once again looking more explosive on the floor. The painful decision to temporarily step back may end up being the catalyst for her long-term dominance. By learning how to balance her role early, Clark may now have the tools to elevate both herself and her teammates in the years to come. And let's not forget the bigger picture. The WNBA is in a period of unprecedented growth. Viewership is at an all-time high, games are being broadcast on major networks, and sponsorships are pouring in. Caitlin Clark has been at the center of this surge, and the way she has handled adversity only adds to her appeal. The Fever, once an afterthought, are now must-watch television. Whether it's Clark hitting a logo three, Boston dominating the paint, or Mitchell lighting it up from deep, Indiana has suddenly become a story of resilience and resurgence. So while it may have been painful in the moment, Caitlin Clark's decision to adjust her game and defer more responsibility has turned into the exact spark the Fever we're looking for. The future of the franchise, and perhaps the league itself, looks brighter because of it. This is more than just a sports story. It's a reminder that growth often comes from the hardest choices, and leadership sometimes means sacrificing personal glory for the greater good. That's all for now on WNBA Trending. I'm Ava, and we'll continue to follow Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever as their remarkable journey unfolds. Stay tuned for more updates, highlights, and analysis right here.